right, well, you've made it. This is the last session. This is where we're really going to put the rubber on the road. This is where we're going to start to put our values on paper. And so while it's really important that we understand the need to live below our means, hopefully the first lesson did a pretty good job in helping you understand why. The reason why we do all of this is because we don't own any of what's been given to us. It's been given to us so that we can steward it, so we can manage it. It is not given to us primarily for us. I mean, God does love us, and he delights to give us the desires of our heart. But I think he would love it if the desire of our heart was to bless the people around us, to help those in need, to use the finances and the resources that we have for the benefits of others. That's how he says that we store up treasures for ourselves in heaven. And so as we look to give and we look to save, we look to live below our means so that we can be a very generous people. But if we're going to do any of that, then we have to build a budget. I'm sorry. There's no other way around it. I don't think that you can just freewheel your way towards this, at least not if you're anything like me or most people that I know. You're going to need some structure, some organization to this. You're going to need the discipline to build a budget and then stick to it. The beautiful thing about this is no one's making this budget for you. You're making it yourself. As a spender, the idea of making a budget really made my eye twitch. I did not like the idea. I thought my wife was going to put a stranglehold over the resources and I was never going to get anything I wanted ever again. But it's been just the opposite, because you know what we budget for? Fun. We have a budget in there. We have a line item in our budget called dates. It's just for us to go out and enjoy time together. We have a budget in there, a budget line item literally just called fun money, where it's I give myself essentially an allowance. And you know the beauty of doing that? I still get to enjoy buying some things that I enjoy having. Some things that, make life fun. But I'm not doing it at the expense of my values. I'm not spending all my money and then not having any savings and not having anything to give. I'm able to just give myself a portion of it and say, go have fun. Because I think that my Father wants me to do that. And so that's what I do. We budget for that. And it's a very small portion of our overall budget. And so this is where everything kind of comes together. This is where we put our priorities on paper. And this is where we start to live out these principles of giving first, saving second, and then living off what's left. So you're going to need to know a couple of things. Hopefully you've done the homework over the last, I don't know how long it's taken you to watch these videos, but hopefully it's several number of weeks. So you have a good idea of what your spending habits are. Hopefully you can see some places where you're spending more money on things that you don't need than maybe you even realized. You know those coffee runs, those trips to Tim Hortons? They add up. Those energy drinks that you buy at the store every once in a while, it all adds up. And if you're not aware of how you're spending that money, then that money's kind of spending you. And it's going to be hard for you to start to reach some of the goals that maybe you started to set for yourself throughout these series. And so you need to know what your spending habits are. Are you a spender? Are you more of a saver like my wife, or a spender like me? You also need to know what your expenses are. You need to know what are the things. And this is where, as you really start to build the budget, you're going to write in there things like utilities. So you're going to write out each one. What is your cable bill? What is your internet bill? What is your water bill? Whatever those utilities are. And then there's other things that you've got to account for. Gasoline in your car, groceries. Everybody's budget is going to look a little bit different. You've got to be able to figure out what those expenses are. And it's helpful if you can categorize them in the fixed and the flexible. So what are the things that no matter what, it's this amount of money? So rent or a mortgage payment is fixed. There's a bottom line to that. You can give over and above that bottom line, but no matter what, you're going to have to pay this in rent or this in your mortgage. You're going to have to pay this to your heat company, right? There's those fixed ones. And then there's the flexible ones, things like groceries, things like gas. There might be a bottom line for gas for you, but oftentimes you'd be surprised how flexible that number can be. You just have to determine that you're going to not drive to some of the places that you thought maybe you would if you're going to be on a tight budget. So you categorize them that way. You've got your fixed and you've got your flexible. And then you need to know what your income is, because that's kind of where it's all going to start. The way I build my budget, the way I would probably recommend you build your budget, is at the very top of your budget, you're going to write what is the amount of money that you either have or plan to have. If you don't know what I'm talking about, watch the last lesson where we talked about maybe getting a month ahead. So you're spending old money. You're spending last month's money instead of the money that's going to come in. Or maybe you're one of those who does what I call forecast budgeting, and you're looking ahead and saying, I should have X amount of dollars this month. Whatever that is, that's going to be the top. Now we start to put our priorities on paper. And the first principle, the top priority in your heart, I pray, is giving. And so you put that at the top. You put where are you committed to giving? You know, if you're a member of a church, you've likely agreed to a church covenant that says within it something like you agree to share the burden of the expenses of that church. And so you may have a commitment there that you've made, or maybe didn't even know you've made. If not, maybe talk to your pastor. So you've got those commitments. And then, you know, if you're like me, like I have friends who are missionaries. And so I support them. And so I'm committed to that. So there's a bit of fixed giving. And then there can be some flexible giving in there too, like I talked about in a previous lesson, having an envelope with money in it that is just there for someone else's day of calamity. It's a wonderful thing to do. But that can be a little bit more of a variable number in giving if you'd like. But either way, all of those things go at the top. So you've got your income, then you've got giving. Where are you going to give money away to? And this is where, if you made that list of the dreams of where you would give money if you could, this is your chance. Make it a priority. Do that. Don't wait until you have more money. Do it now. Because you know the thing about wealth is it doesn't change you. It actually just exacerbates who you already are. It kind of amplifies who you are. So if you're a generous person when you've got 2 pennies, if you get $1 million, there's a good chance you're going to be pretty generous with that. But if you're stingy with your $5, you're probably going to be stingy with your $5 million too. So cultivate that heart of generosity right now and start to give to some places. Maybe you're committed to giving, or maybe not. Maybe you can just be free in the way that you do it. But I promise you there's a local church somewhere near you that is probably pretty desperate for a little bit more financial help from some people. And so, you know, think about those things. But whatever it is for you, there it is. You give first. And what's second? Saving. You save second. This is where I think it's good to just have a number, a percentage every month. Just say, I'm going to put this much away. Personally, I'm not comfortable seeing my savings number be more than my giving number. So if you build a budget like I do and you kind of go down and then you get to the bottom and you're like, oh, I've got money left to budget, you know, a lot of the times I'll either want to buy something or I'll want to put it into savings. But the reason why I like to do the percentage things is if I'm giving 10% in savings, and as I'm building my budget, if I'm giving 10% in giving in all the various different ways I give, and then I'm giving 10% in savings, and I get to the bottom of my budget and I realize I've got an extra $1,000 or something crazy, I don't like to put it into savings if that puts me at like 11% savings and 10% giving. I prefer to put that up into giving because, again, recognizing the goal of all this is so that I can be more generous, not so that I can be more stingy. And so that's how you're going to do it. You're going to build out your giving, and then you're going to build out your saving. And in your savings, you're going to have things like your emergency fund, right? Keep that up. If you have to dip into it, then you want to be putting back into it. But maybe you reach a point where you do have 6 months in there. So month after month after month, as you're building your budget, that line item doesn't get any money put into it because it's all set. So you're going to have your emergency fund in there. If you don't have the $1,000 yet, that's where you're going to put that $1,000 or your chunks of money as you're progressing towards that $1,000. And then you're going to put things in there like retirement. A really good one to put in there, new car. Instead of making car payments on a car that you have that you didn't have money for, start saving for your next car now. Dave Ramsey recommends driving a junker if you have to, if that means that you can start making payments to yourself for your next vehicle, because if you don't do that, then you're going to end up giving thousands of dollars away to a bank or to that car dealership in interest. And as I've said before, I think there's a lot more interesting things to do with your money than give it away in interest. So as you're saving, consider saving for a new car. And then just like anything else that you can think of that would be wise, that you need to be patient in your purchases. So if you know that you need a new washer and dryer within the next year, put that there in your budget as a savings line item and put $10, $15, $20 a month away and watch how that builds over time. And then when it comes time to get that, you don't need to finance it through Home Depot or Lowe's. You can just give them the cash for it so that you can save yourself the headache of potentially having to pay really high interest rates if you're late on any of those payments. And then just anything else, right? So just like you did with your giving, you get to decide here. This is the beauty of doing this. No one's telling you how to spend your money. You're just trying to put the principles of God's word and the priorities of your heart down on paper. Give as the Lord leads and do it cheerfully, and then save as you think you should. Be wise. Save second. Build a budget that reflects that, and then comes the rest of the budget, which is probably going to, on paper, be the longer portion, because this is where you're going to literally just list out every single line item. What are your utilities? Put those in a category all by themselves, right? Mortgage, taxes, all those other things that we all love to pay. Put those in a category of fixed. Then make another section of flexible, where these are things that you're going to assign dollars to, but it can fluctuate and vary as the month goes, because here's the reason why. You should have a calculator next to you, or if you're really crafty like my wife, you can use Excel or Google Sheets, and they actually make these like algorithms you can put in that as you put numbers in these categories, it will like tally this all up for you. I'm not that good at it. Maybe I can share a file or something like that. But I'm sure if you just looked online, you'd find them, the algorithms themselves, for how to do this kind of thing. It's really handy. I love the way my wife built this up for us. We use Google Sheets. I put in our income, and then it actually just fills in a lot of these things because we do percentages. It just fills in a lot of the giving and saving stuff for us, and that's done. A lot of the numbers don't change within the fixed things, so those carry over as we make a new sheet for the next month. And then all we really have to do is look at the bottom where it says you've got this much left to budget and figure out, okay, where are we going to put these dollars that we have so that we're not just frivolously wasting them. And this is where I think, again, a good piece of wisdom from Proverbs. This one is Proverbs 21:5. It says, "The plans of the diligent certainly lead to profit, but anyone who is reckless only becomes poor." This is where we see that come to fruition. Again, Proverbs are not promises. They're pieces of wisdom. So it's not that if you do this that you're going to be able to stay out of poverty. There's a lot of factors that go into the economy and your life and your health and all other kinds of things. So there's no promise here that you're going to prosper and become wealthy, but this is certainly a part of not becoming poor, is doing our best to be diligent, to be intentional with the dollars that we've been entrusted with today. And so we've given, we've saved, and now we're just trying to live off of what's left. And like I said, there's a lot of times when I'll get down to that last section and realize I have way more money than I need to put into these. Where can I put it? And I'm going to the top. I'm going up to giving, and I'm going up to saving. And a lot of times I like to go up to giving and just try and be more generous than I thought I could when I first started building that budget. Got some notes I'm trying to follow here. I lost track of that, so let me just kind of make sure that I got everything. Okay, yeah, so that's it. That's pretty much everything. This was not the most in-depth study that you can do on this. I would consider this to probably be an introduction into biblical financial management. There are great resources out there. Hopefully as a church we'll be able to do Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University here sometime soon so we can go deeper into all these things I've sort of touched on. This was designed to kind of be a surface level introduction to what this looks like. So if you have any questions, again, if there's a comment section associated with this video, just leave them in the comment section. You can always just text me as well or ask me in person on a Sunday morning when you see me. This is something I like talking about. So we've done it. You know, you've sat through it all, listened to everything that I had to say from God's Word and from my own notes and my own thoughts about all this stuff. Now it's on you. You know, the ball's in your court. What you're going to do with this information is up to you. One pastor I like to listen to says, I make suggestions, you make decisions. And that's really going to be the determining factor on all this. You're going to get out of it what you put into it. The more intentional that you are, the more that you're going to see the benefits of it in the long run. And hopefully we can all grow in our ability to be able to be the most generous people that the people that we know have ever come into contact with, because the God that we serve is just that generous to us, to give us so much more than we need, not for our benefit, but for the benefit of the people around us. I mean, who lives like that, right? Well, I think people who are living for the kingdom do. And I hope that this has kind of helped inspire you a little bit to live in that kind of way. And so one last piece of homework for you, go and build that $0 budget. Go and build a budget on a piece of paper with a calculator next to you. If you're crafty like my wife, use Excel or Google Sheets. But start to put some of these things into practice. And like I said, if you ever have any questions, just reach out and I'll do my best to help you. So God bless you guys. I hope this has been helpful. This has been interesting for me to try and teach it. It's the first time I've tried to teach it, so hopefully I did okay with that. God bless you, and may God let you give a blessing to the people around you. Go in peace. Bye.